Hi everybody! Welcome back to the Cupcake Jemma channel with me, Sally, and we've got Dane who's filming and Nikki who's taking photos. So today is gonna be super duper fun. And do you know what else has been really fun? The baking classes that we've been doing. I have absolutely loved meeting you guys, and we've just been having the most fun up here in the studio as well as in Brighton as well. And if you want to find out a little bit more about that, there's a link on screen now and also in the description box below. You can come to one of our cupcake decorating classes. We've got cake decorating, some new ones which by the time you see this video might be out there, like bento cakes, which I cannot wait to start doing with you guys. So come along and join in the fun. But today we're going to have some fun making these cupcakes, and it is for raspberry and white chocolate cupcakes. This is like a Crumbs Doilies classic. I had no idea we hadn't done it on here, but Hector was like, no, you definitely haven't. So I was like, great, I will do that. Anyway, these are our classic raspberry ripple sponge, but they've got little white chocolate chips in it. We're gonna fill them with raspberry goo, and then we're gonna do a two-tone buttercream. That's obviously raspberry and white chocolate, and then we'll decorate it with some white chocolate bark as well. An amazing flavor. Whenever I think of this, it makes me think of those soft, chewy cookies that you get from a supermarket, and I honestly don't care what anyone says, they are some of the best cookies out there. So hopefully this cupcake will come close to that, we'll have to see. So we're gonna start with our cupcake sponge, and we're gonna start with 125 grams of caster sugar. I'm just pouring all of this through the sieve just to make sure that we don't have any lumps of sugar or flour in there. So in with the flour, and again 125 grams of self-raising flour. Pop that through along with a little bit of bicarbonate of soda, so just a quarter teaspoon of this stuff. This is going to help it rise nicely. That's going in there. And then we'll just shimmy all of this through, and then any little lumps we can just pop through with our fingers like so. And then we'll add some chocolate chips. So in here, I've got just 30 grams of white chocolate chips, which I've actually chopped up really small, just so they spread through the batter a little bit more. But you can also just get a bar of white chocolate and chop it up as well, just into little pieces like this. And I'm gonna sprinkle those in on top. And then we've got butter, of course. We've got unsalted butter here, and it's really nice and soft. I had this out overnight, but you can just blast it in the microwave a few seconds at a time until it's nice and spreadable like this. We need it to be soft so that it whips up nice and quickly, because this is our super speedy all-in-one cupcake batter. So 125 grams going in there, and then lastly we have 2 eggs. So we do the double. Yes, I saw Dane doing this the other day on a video, and I was like, oh, okay, I need to up my game. So those are gonna plop right on in, and we will get this onto our mixer. You can do this with a hand mixer as well. Is that in? That is definitely in. Okay, so now we're just gonna drop the mixer head and get this mixing on a medium to high speed. It needs to be fast enough to incorporate some air as we go, and we're gonna mix it for about 30 seconds. And then we'll drop the mixer down to the lowest speed and add in 1.5 tablespoons of whole milk. Once that's mixed through, we'll get the mixer up again to a nice high speed for another 30 seconds. And now our batter is almost finished, but of course we need to add some raspberry to it. So just take the paddle out. And when you're doing this, just make sure that you give your mixer or your bowl a good scrape around from time to time, just to make sure that everything has been really well incorporated. And now let's get raspberrying. So I've got some raspberry goo here, which you've seen us make so many times. Raspberry, blueberry, strawberry, whatever it is. I'll put a recipe in the description box below. I say it probably won't be me doing it. It'll be Nikki. But we've made this loads on the channel, so there's the recipe down in the description box. But also, if you want to come and join the Bake Club, you can get a downloadable PDF every week of the recipes that we do here on the channel. There's a link on the screen now and also in the description box. You can head over there and join for more funs. So once you've got your raspberry goo and it's really nice and jammy like this, we're going to swirl this through our batter, but we don't want to get too overexcited. and like mix it in. So I'm gonna start by dolloping in maybe 2 spoonfuls, and then with the spatula, I'm gonna very lightly fold this through just to create a few swirls. So you can see I've left quite a lot of goo in there. I haven't like mixed it into the batter because it can tend to look a little bit grey once it's baked if we do that. And also we want those really nice big ripples. So you can see that looks so awesome. And I'm just going to start filling up my cupcake cases here, which I didn't really talk about, but we've got our regular cupcake pan with paper cases, the perfect size paper case, available from cupcakejemma.com. I'm doing all the plugs today. But really, fantastic size. So I'm just gonna keep on going, filling up all of these cupcakes, and then once I've run out of nice big jammy bits in my batter, I'm just gonna add another spoonful of the goo and keep on going until I've filled all the cupcakes up. And now they are ready to bake. So the oven is preheated to 170 degrees C, which is fan assisted, and we're going to bake them for 18 minutes. We'll test them to make sure that they are done, but in the meantime we're going to make our buttercream. So we're going to be making raspberry and white chocolate buttercream, and we're going to make it as one whole thing, a little bit like we did in the raspberry and yuzu cake that we did a few weeks ago. I'm going to make one lot of icing and then split it to flavor it. So starting again with butter, more unsalted butter, nice and soft so that we can whip it up. And in here I've got 285 grams, so that's going into the bowl of the mixer with the paddle attachment, and we're going to get that mixing on its own for about 4 or 5 minutes until it's really, really fluffy and pale and white, delicious on a high speed. Now we can see that the butter has turned into this amazing, pale, creamy, I mean it's whipped butter, isn't it? It's what you get when you go to like a fancy restaurant. So I've got 450 grams of icing sugar, which I've already sifted, and I'm going to start by adding half of it into the mixer. And as you can see, it is super poofy. So before we mix it all up, I'm going to grab my spatula and I'm just going to sort of mix it about just to combine the two ingredients so that we don't get covered completely in icing sugar. Maybe it doesn't really seem like a helping things much here, does it? But just till it's kind of come together and it's like a bit of a shaggy dough, that'll do. And now we'll grab back our paddle and we'll pop it on and we'll get it mixing again for another 3 to 4 minutes, just on that high speed, just keep it going. And now we're going to do exactly the same thing. I'm just going to take it off, add the remaining icing sugar, grab my spatula, stir it through just to combine it slightly. And then we'll get it back on the mixer, whipping on that nice high speed for another 2 to 3 minutes. And lastly, I'm just going to add in a little pinch of salt, like not too much, like an actual pinch, just to cut through a little bit of the sweetness, because I personally find buttercream a little bit on the sweet side. So that's nicely mixed through, and now we are going to divide the buttercream into 2, because we obviously want half that's white chocolate and half that is raspberry. So I'm just going to do this by eye. Obviously, if you want to be like super precise, grab yourself some scales and do it evenly. But I'm just going to take out maybe, I don't know, that looks kind of about half-ish. So we'll save this to one side and we'll start with the white chocolate. So I've already melted some white chocolate. I've got 130 grams in here. I melted it and I've just let it cool down slightly so that we're not like melting our buttercream. So we'll pour all of this in. Delicious. Yum, yum, yum. We'll mix this through just for about a minute and then we'll test the consistency. We might want to add a little bit of milk just to loosen it up. So that's the white chocolate icing done. It is time to move on to the raspberry. So for this, we're going to do exactly the same thing, but I'm going to add about 2 dollops of raspberry goo, mix that through on the high speed, add a little bit of milk if we think it needs it, until it's completely combined and it looks this beautiful pale pink color. And just like that, we are ready to assemble our cupcakes. They've cooled down, they look gorgeous. I mean, look at this. Nice big jammy pool at the bottom there. So we are gonna fill these with the raspberry goo, but first of all I'm gonna get my buttercream ready because we've got our 2 flavors here, but we want to put them in the same piping bag. Now you can just go ahead and like try and put both of them in, but it can be a bit tricky and one will come out on top of the other. Yada, yada, yada. This is a nice, easy way to do it. I've got a little bit of cling film here, and I'm gonna start with the pink buttercream, but it can be whatever one you want. And I'm going to start making like a line of the buttercream down the cling film, making sure that it does reach the edge of the cling film here. So we'll pop this in like this, and then I'll grab the white buttercream, the white chocolate buttercream, and we're just gonna put that exactly next to the raspberry one. Like this. It doesn't need to be like neat or anything. Just get it all in. And now we're going to grab the cling film by one side, we'll roll it over like this, and I always tell people in one of the classes to pretend you're making sushi, and then I admit that I've never made sushi before. Right, so we've got it there. It's coming out of this opening of the cling film. And now we'll put it into the piping bag. I've got myself a reusable piping bag here with one of the French tips on the end. That's one of these ones that's got loads and loads of points to it, and they're all quite short. And I'm going to pick up this sausage of buttercream and just pop it in there. And then we'll just hold the end like this. And before we start piping the cupcakes, we just want to make sure it's coming out really evenly, which it is. Look, I'm just going to pipe it towards you. It kind of looks like a flump. So we'll just leave that to one side and we'll get on with filling the cupcake. So starting with the apple corer, I'm going to take out the middle of each cupcake, making sure not to go right down to the bottom, mainly so that we don't cut through the paper case. And now I've got the remaining raspberry goo in a piping bag, and I'm going to fill up each cupcake right to the top. And now that all the cupcakes have been filled, it is time to decorate. So we're going to do a nice big chubby swirl on top of each cupcake. And then finally, I'm going to top it off with a bit of this raspberry and white chocolate bark, which I made earlier just so that it had time to set. This was really easy. You just want to melt down a little bit of white chocolate in the microwave or over a bain-marie. And I'm just going to chuck in a little bit of unmelted chocolate, and that's just going to get the temperature down so that this sets really nicely. I've spread it out onto a silpat using a cranked palette knife. And then I'm just sprinkling it with some freeze-dried raspberry pieces, which are so tangy, it's gonna be amazing. And now we can just break this up and we'll stud each cupcake with a little piece of it. Aren't they just beautiful and adorable? Love it. I am going to eat this. And I said to Dane, I'm going to try and get into the middle so you can see the center, but my mouth is not as big as his. Here goes. I did. I got that. So delicious. You've got fluffy, fluffy cupcake sponge, which is studded with the little chocolate chips, so you're getting a bit of texture. And then that raspberry goo filling is intense. So tangy and fruity, but it is all smoothed out by this delicious white chocolate buttercream, which is amazing. I absolutely love it. And of course, the bark, I made way too much of it, but that's okay because you can just eat it. I hope you really like this cupcake. Make it, it's springtime now. It's coming into summer, so it's perfect for them. You can get nice fresh raspberries to make the goo with as well, which would be delicious. The ingredients is all in the description box below, but you can join us over on our bake club at patreon.com/Cupcake Jemma, where you can get a downloadable PDF with photos and a full ingredients and method as well, so that you don't even have to watch this video if you don't want to, but you already watched it because we're at the end. So we'll see you next week with another recipe. Don't forget to check out the baking classes as well. Links for that are in the description box below. We'll see you next week. I got it.